Welcome to San Joaquin Spotlight, a public affairs program featuring conversations about life in the central San Joaquin Valley. This program is brought to you in partnership between KFSR 90.7 FM and CMAC Fresno. I'm your host, Sevag Tateosian. Today we have two individuals talking to us about an upcoming conference. We have Armen and Betsy Hayes. Both of you, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm excited to have both of you here this week because there's some cool conferences coming up, but one in particular. Betsy, what's going on?
Well, the 26th annual Central California Women's Conference is coming downtown to the Fresno Convention and Entertainment Center on Tuesday, September 17th.
Women's Conference. So what is going to go on at this conference?
Oh my goodness, it is an entire day of, the theme this year is Live Your Passion. And so we have put together an entire day's programming to inspire and encourage and empower and educate the women of Central California in order for them to leave that day and start living their passion.
Armen, you were involved in this last year. I remember talking to you a little bit about it. You were actually presenting last year, if I'm not correct, if I'm wrong, but talk about what you noticed at this conference.
Well, you know, for years I had been an attendee, and I had gone just to be inspired and motivated, and then I wrote a book, and I was able to be a presenter with my co-author, and we presented a session with more than 300 women, and we left as inspired and motivated by our audience, I think, as they hopefully were by our presentation. And I have the opportunity again this year to be a presenter, and the title of my session this year is I Dare You to Live Your Life.
I Dare You to Live Your Life.
Yes.
Can you go into details about how you prepare for such a presentation? And the reason I ask you the question is because you're going to look out and you're going to see a ton of people out there.
Yes.
Some people will be nervous, but what are you doing to prepare for that?
Well, you know, I'm a listener. I pay attention to a lot of my peers and the professional women, my family members, women in general, my girlfriends that I've grown up with. And I think there are so many of us who put off living our passion thinking, you know, first I have to do the laundry, I have to raise my children, I have to do my job, I have to take care of my aging parents, and we delay doing the things that feed our soul. And so my session this year is going to be about putting yourself first and finding your true passion and what some of the things you have to do in order to get there, and you know, create boundaries for your time, learning how to say no, giving yourself permission to be first on your list once in a while.
Is there a balance? Can you balance doing things for yourself and also helping your family? Because a lot of times I hear people say, oh no, I have to always do this way.
I think for women, it's fair to say it's a lifelong pursuit. There's no golden magic bullet. We're all, and that's what's the beauty of the conference. We learn from each other. So whether you go with your daughter to the conference or you're a girlfriend or a colleague, you share those secrets during the sessions, and you listen to people who are really focusing in on those issues, whether it's balancing time, whether it's taking better care of our health. You know, it's a delicate balance being a woman these days, and I think this conference really gives all women participants an opportunity to take away something very, very valuable that they can incorporate into their daily life to make that balance a little more realistic.
Betsy, who is the main speaker this year? Because I've been watching social media and everybody's talking about this event. Who's the main speaker?
Our celebrity keynote is Helen Hunt.
Helen Hunt,
Yes.
very nice selection.
And everyone is absolutely echoing what you're saying with the excitement. The social media buzz is going crazy, and I think she's a very much loved actress. She's also, you know, been very successful behind the camera and a leader in her field, breaking the glass ceiling in some of those directing and producing areas. And so that's one of the reasons we thought she'd be an amazing keynote speaker for the conference.
You all have done such a fantastic job bringing talent to Fresno. Talk about who you've brought in the past, because you've brought some impressive names, and I've seen the list, and it's like Wow, they came to Fresno for what?
Absolutely. And you know what? It actually is a very easy sell. We let these amazing women know about what our mission is and what we're doing here. And if their schedule allows it, you know, they do typically say yes. Last year we had Jamie Lee Curtis, which was one of my favorites. Oh, I have also been an attendee before I got involved in the conference, and she's definitely in my top 5. Gina Davis was very recently. We've had Susie Armen twice. She's the only speaker we've had twice. We had her, and then as you know, the economy, and so we thought, you know what, we need to have her come back. So that was wonderful. Goldie Hawn was Robin Roberts, who was more inspiring than she is on television.
So when they come to Fresno, I imagine you meet them or you two meet them. What do they say about Fresno, and what do they say about the conference, more importantly?
They love the conference. The energy,
Yes.
and which is so difficult to describe, and you can sort of see it and feel it in the photographs, but to be there and to experience that energy, particularly at the luncheon when there's 3,500 women, you know, cheering for these celebrities and rooting them on, and after the luncheon their comment is always, what an experience, what a life-changing experience, and everyone to the person has said, I'm so grateful that I took this opportunity to come here.
And you know, I think that each of the, especially the keynote speakers, all of them have consistently been champions for women. And so to look out into the audience and to see a sea of women who are there for self-betterment, for personal renewal, to get inspired. I mean, there's a lot of power in the house that day, and I think, again, it's mutually beneficial. I think our keynote speakers leave inspired. Certainly the audience. I remember Gina Davis 2 years ago. She said something during her keynote speech at lunch. She said, I've learned to be tenacious to a ridiculous level. And I was, during that time, writing my book. And that sentence stayed with me. It's still written on above my sink in my bathroom, because when I'm tired and weary-eyed, it just gives me the motivation to keep pushing, even when I'm ready to collapse. And she, you know, in showbiz, they make it look so easy. But obviously, to be successful, whether you're Helen Hunt or Jamie Lee Curtis or Gina Davis, you're working hard. They all are raising families. They're multitasking, as all of us are, and they share with us their own frustrations, and that some days are better than others. And I think they all send us another message of, don't be afraid to make a fool of yourself. They've all had their ups and downs. None of them is that perfect image we see on television. And so they're very inspiring.
You are going the direction that I was going to go, so thank you for leading
you're
me
welcome.
down
My
that
pleasure.
path, because one of the things I've noticed is that these stories that are shared are very emotional, very
Yes.
powerful. How do you keep your composure? I mean, Armen, you've spoken to a crowd of tearful audience members. How do you keep your composure? Because there are some things that are going to be said at the conference that are going to be touching to the heart.
Yes.
So talk about the emotion in the room.
Well, I always, my internal mantra is breathe, baby, breathe. but really, the reality is, it's okay to lose your composure. It's okay to cry and laugh, because the day really is emotionally charged. I mean, people are there sharing, even the motivational speakers who are there with a comedy routine or something that's very uplifting. There's always a story behind their presentation, and usually from tragedy they have triumphed. And so I think it's okay to feel the full range of emotions during that day, and we all leave holding on to each other a little bit tighter and realizing it's okay to be human. So you know, I've had those moments when I lose my composure, whether I'm presenting or sitting in the audience, and I think it's okay. I think that delivers a message that we're all human and we're all vulnerable, and that's okay.
Betsy, I'm going to ask you to show the flyer in a little bit, but Armen, continuing on that sentence, are bonds formed at these things? I mean, is it possible for two strangers to go in and have that connection, to work with each other, to inspire each other, and to form a relationship?
Oh, absolutely. Last year, the session I presented was titled Surviving the Unthinkable. And it was about the loss of my son and surviving the worst day of my life. And in the audience, I would say maybe 50% were moms who had lost children, or parents, or friends, or somebody important in their lives. And you could just feel people. If there was somebody sitting next to somebody who started crying, you would see a Kleenex be passed, or an arm resting on the shoulder, or a hand. And people stayed after the session. It was hard for them to get up and leave because there was a chemistry that was so magical that happened during that hour. And so, yes, those bonds are formed, and I think we all leave feeling we're more alike than different. And that's also, in this day and age, a really important message, that we're all sharing the same struggles, many of the same struggles, and that we can, by sharing and by living out loud and sharing some of those with each other, you don't feel as alone, as isolated, and we can lean on each other for friendship and support.
Betsy, now it's time to show this wonderfully done flyer that the camera will zoom in on, so if you can hold it up. Talk about how hard it is, or how many volunteers need to get involved for something like this, because you're talking 3,500 people.
Absolutely. This is a true community effort, this conference, led by an amazingly hardworking board of directors, a volunteer board of directors. We have more than 100 volunteers the day of the event, doing everything from helping the speakers to traffic control to making sure that the flowers are beautifully arranged on the tables, and our wonderful sponsors and all of the breakout session speakers volunteer their time to present. It is such a wonderful representation of the spirit of the women of this community.
Speaking of sponsors, I find that a lot of times people underestimate the importance of sponsors to events like this. Talk about how crucial it is to have sponsors. I've done events, and I know that without sponsors, it's almost impossible.
It really is. We are able to provide such a beautiful day for the attendees for a very reasonable fee. The tickets are $95, and that includes breakfast, lunch, and pretty much dinner, because at the end of the day we have heavy treats with our cool down session, plus our celebrity keynote speaker warm-up, cool down, 27 breakout sessions, marketplace with 175 vendors. So we are able to provide that only with the generosity of the folks that choose to sponsor the conference. It is so critical.
All that stuff you're talking about is happening here in Fresno, the breakout sessions and all those things?
Yes, 27 breakout sessions. Armen is in our first session. There are 3 different breakout sessions throughout the day, in the morning and then 2 in the afternoon. And so the attendees get to choose from 9 at a time, because there are 3,500, and so we need to divide them throughout the event. And it is amazing.
And I will just say that on that morning, you want to get on the freeway. If you're working downtown, you want to be on Freeway 41, a little on the early side, because everybody is converging on downtown Fresno, but there's such energy, and it's a great day.
You've mentioned something else I want to talk about, is who should come to this thing. I know that there's a lot of people, 3,500 people is a lot, but who should come? Should it be cousins? Should it be mother-daughter? Should it be mother-son? Who should come?
All of the above. I think young women hugely benefit from this kind of a day. Older women, colleagues, girlfriends, mothers and daughters. Really, as a presenter last year, I looked out into the audience and I saw pairings of office groups. My office, for instance, we bring a delegation, so lots of companies support their employees coming for a day of personal renewal and workshops and presentations that they get to listen to. Mothers and daughters can come for some very special magical bonding. Girlfriends, old women, young women, all culturally diverse group. It's a completely mixed bag, and it's wonderful because it's very reflective of the diversity and uniqueness of our community.
So are you seeing that there are diverse families coming to this? If I'm
absolutely.
walking in Fresno, I see a lot of different faces, a lot of different cultures. So is this conference something that the different cultures can attend?
Absolutely. It's so the demographics of the conference really do reflect the demographics of the community. And this year, even to add even more spice and fun to the diversity, our warm-up speaker is actually an international motivational speaker whose primary world is Spanish language. She is a talk show host on Univision Radio, has written several Spanish language motivational books, and she will be speaking in English during her warm-up session. She is absolutely taken over the world as far as the Univision space. Several of the Spanish language newspapers she writes a column for, and we brought Maria because she could motivate this piece of paper to run for president. That is how motivational this woman is. But also to further reflect, the demographics of our community, the folks who come to the conference, and to show that we are more alike and different.
And I think you'll see that in speakers, in vendors, and participants alike. Mm-hmm. So there's great diversity.
I'm going to ask both of you this question, but starting with Armen, why are you so involved in this? I mean, you're a busy woman. You have a lot of things going on. You have a full-time job. You have a book. Why are you so involved in something like this? A lot of people will say, why do you do it? There's a lot going on in your life.
First, I think it's so important in our community. Women have a huge place in our community, and this is a day that's designed just for them. And we have a lot of women in leadership, and a lot of, it's a hub. And I think Fresno, for all the bashing we get, we have some phenomenal women, and this is a day that's designed for them. And I do this because, like everybody else, there are days when I need to recharge my battery, and a day that I give myself permission to either be a presenter and extend myself to other women and share some life lessons with others, give back to the community, or be in the audience at the luncheon to hear somebody share their story and to learn. I always have so many takeaways with me that I always take notes, and one or two little moments that stay with me for the entire year until the next conference. And so I do it because I love Fresno, and I think we have an incredible world of women here who are doing great things, and they deserve it. They're worth it.
How do you inspire people, Armen? I mean, there are people out in the community that we deal with on a regular basis that aren't inspired, or they're down, or they're going through tough things. What can we do to lift them up? What, as a community or as people, can we do? I know I'm putting you in the spot with that left field question, but go ahead and answer, because I know you help people.
I think by sharing, I'm a storyteller, and by sharing my story, which, I've had a wonderful life. I love Fresno. I'm born and raised here. I've traveled, but I've had hardships also. I lost my son. And it's that message of waking up every morning and whispering to yourself, today I'm going to give the world the best I have to offer. And by sharing not only the good things that are going on, but also some of the stuff that goes on behind that velvet curtain that nobody sees, again, we extend ourselves and we make that human connection. And I think that's motivating in of itself. And so all of the speakers at this year's conference will have secrets to share and little tips for surviving and thriving, and I think that's what makes for a good community, a strong community.
Betsy, now your turn to answer the question. You're very busy. I get emails from you wearing different hats, and off camera we were talking, and the rumor is you're working on your own book as well. So why are you so involved in this? I mean, I know you've taken a leadership role in this conference.
Very similar to Armen's comments. It is so important. I have been an attendee of this event for more than a decade, and experiencing it from that side of it just led me to be aware of how critical it is for something like this to continue to grow and to thrive, because it is a gift to the community that the board puts together. And when I was asked to come on board in sort of more of an organizational role, I jumped on the opportunity because it's for everyone who's involved, it's a mission. It is a mission because the information that is shared is so valuable, the experience of the event itself is so valuable, and we want it to be the absolute best it can be. And so we just, get in and, both feet, both hands, the whole self, and try to make it happen.
And I think I will just add, for the next generation of women, for our daughters and granddaughters, I think we need to create something like this that will have a long shelf life that we can continue to offer to the women of our community.
And it's been around for a while, so it sounds like it's got motivation behind it, it's got momentum behind it. Talk about, again, how long you've been involved and how have you seen it grow over the years?
Absolutely. It's the 26th year, started by the late Senator Ken Maddie, who thought, was very visionary in his thinking and felt that this was a really important thing for the women of Central California. And I have personally been involved. Gosh, I was also a breakout session speaker, both in 2009 and 2011, coordinating all of the speakers and the PR now for the last couple of years. Speaking of the legacy to our children, I have 2 daughters, one of whom is 16. She went last year as an attendee.
Yeah.
And this year she said, "Oh, Mom, I don't want to come as an attendee. I really want to volunteer. I want to work for the conference." And in fact, this afternoon, she was helping me go through some of the, making sure your AV is correct for your session, Armen. And I think that is so much fun because this is something hopefully she will choose to be involved in. My mom always sells a table, so we have an intergenerational
family
event
in our house. So it's just a very special thing.
Armen, I want to take you back to the first time you were ever at this conference. So you're in the audience, the first speaker comes on. What are you thinking at that point?
I'm thinking I am a raw canvas. I have so much to learn. I was young. And at first I said, am I intimidated by the information that, because everybody's so smart, everybody's so dynamic, the speakers are incredible. And then I just allowed myself to be a sponge. And I always take notes. And those notes, weeks later, I'm looking at them saying, this is worth $1 million in shaping new practices, in just giving me little new tidbits to live by. And each year that's happened. And the first year you attend, it's a little overwhelming because there's so many opportunities. There are vendors, there are breakout sessions, there's a luncheon speaker, and you're running into friends and stopping. And then after the second or third year, you establish a rhythm. You work smart at the conference so that you're able to see and be involved with as much as possible, because there's so much to absorb in the day. And I think I've gotten certainly much better at doing that. Last year was hard because I was a presenter, so I was focused on my presentation, ran over to hear the keynote speaker, and then attended sessions in the afternoon. But this year I'm presenting in the morning. I'm going to enjoy lunch and listen to Helen Hunt, and I adore her because she's so real, but I know she also has stories to share that we will all learn from. So it takes a few years. So all it takes is the first time, and I think most people are hooked, and they keep attending.
Betsy, you mentioned something earlier that I found interesting is, the details of an event like this. Your details have to be right, or else something can go wrong. How detail-oriented is this event?
Extremely. Mary Stablefeld, the conference coordinator, has been with the conference since day one. She was with Ken Maddie's office when he created the idea and has since been involved in the conference. And that continuity, I think, is part of why it's continued to be so successful and grow and prosper. And there is definitely a lot of record keeping, a lot of lists and databases and charts and this and that. And the volunteers, some of them have been with us for 26 years. And so they know that this is the space that I am in charge of at the conference, and I will do what I need to do. And the folks that, print the signs, they've been printing the signs for, 10, 15 years. And the Pepsi donates water and sodas for us, and they know exactly how much to bring. And so I think the rich history and the fact that once people are involved, we sort of do hook them in forever. But that helps.
And the other thing, when you receive your registration, you sign up for your sessions, and they have to plan rooms accordingly. I was amazed last year because we ended up in a large room and it was filled to capacity, and it was like, how did they figure out what size room I needed for my presentation? But they do the math, they do their homework, and the conference, the board, I really have to applaud.
Yes.
They're so dedicated, they work tirelessly, and they do that so from the minute you walk in, you feel like the guest of honor, and I think everybody feels like a VIP during the entire day. So it's a beautiful, beautiful conference and a great opportunity for women of all ages.
Betsy, Armen mentioned something earlier about the bond between mothers and daughters. And you mentioned that your daughter went with you to this conference and now she helps out. Do you think that bond has strengthened between you and your daughter based on this experience?
Absolutely, yeah. She's so cute. I mean, I know I'm biased, but when do I get to know about the keynote speaker? And okay, Mom, I'm out of school. How can I help? And she's very social media savvy, so she's actually going to be working with us on Instagram. And so being able to do this work project together has definitely brought us closer. And it's fun to have me learn from her expertise, her learn from my expertise, and that's something a lot of moms and daughters don't get the opportunity to do. So I'm very, very happy.
We haven't talked about the food at this thing, but the food. Is there breakfast and lunch at this thing?
The food. Yes, we have Kaiser Permanente is putting together a healthy breakfast in the morning. So when folks come, there's a healthy continental breakfast for them. We have a beautiful lunch. Pardini's does an amazing job with a very healthy, wonderful lunch. And then at the marketplace, there are a lot of vendors who are food vendors, and so they provide samples and different things. Some folks just, See's Candy is always there, and they give away all kinds of treats.
Popular.
Which is very
popular.
popular and very fun. One of our breakout session speakers is actually Sherry from Sherry's Berries. If you're familiar with her world-famous chocolate-covered strawberries, she's doing 2 sessions for us on living your passion and being an entrepreneur. She's going to bring chocolate-covered strawberries to all of the guests in her session. So there will be lots of opportunities to munch and munch. And at the end of the day, we do have wine and hors d'oeuvres, supported by Chick-fil-A and a lot of the local agriculture folks. We'll have little packages of raisins, of course, and food that is indigenous to the region.
We are running out of time this week, and so real fast, one sentence, both of you. Why should people attend this event? We'll start with you, Armen.
Oh gosh, thanks for putting me on the spot. To renew, rejuvenate, to replenish, and nourish the spirit and the soul. I think that's the best reason.
Betsy, now you're in the spot. One sentence.
To laugh and network and learn and start the path to living your passion.
On that note, you have been listening and watching San Joaquin Spotlight, a public affairs production of 90.7 KFSR Fresno and CMAC Fresno. Our guests this week have been Armen Bacon and Betsy Hayes, both with the Women's Conference coming up. What's the date of the Women's Conference?
Tuesday, September 17th.
Tuesday, September 17th. Thank you to the volunteer crew that made this production and every production possible. Thank you again to all of you watching us. Follow us on Twitter, find us on Facebook, and check out our YouTube page. That's all for this edition. Tune in next week for a new edition.